Hello, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whatever it is for you today. I am Dr. Simmons, and our topic today is de-escalation techniques. We want to talk about techniques that would not that will help de-escalate a problem or a situation. So let's get started. Let's get started. We all experience crises in our lives. And at some point, each person has a unique way of dealing with it. And when you have a unique way of dealing with it, you do that just so that you can stay balanced emotionally, so that you're equipped in how to handle that crisis. But sometimes you might need some help from a friend or family. But either way it goes, if you are either the person in the crisis or if you're the person that need assistance, we want to talk about how to de-escalate these and have techniques to make it work. Okay, cuz let's join in this journey. Once again, I'm Dr. Simmons, and we want to make sure that we understand what is a crisis. We may all assume what we think is a crisis, but a crisis is a very difficult and dangerous, unstable situation that requires immediate attention. It's often at a turning point. It's such a very effective crisis drama. It's a situation that's at the worst point, at the critical stage. It's an unstable situation. It's a critical stage that situation is in, and it has overwhelming emotions. It's a period of extreme trouble in our affairs. And like I said before, it could be anything. It could be political, economical, society, but it occurs and it makes us to a point where we cannot function. If you're the person in the crisis, sometimes it really creates a situation where you have anxiety. You may have anger, and that anger may even be evident as you are angry with somebody else. It may not even be the situation, but it's displaced anger about a certain thing. And so a crisis can do that to you. You can have overwhelming emotions of being helpless and feeling vulnerable. And that's what a crisis will do. It will knock you off your feet. It will stop your world completely. And that's what a crisis is. And let's watch signs of a crisis that's being escalated to a new level, meaning that it'll be behavior changes. If I'm going through a crisis or you're going through a crisis, your behavior may change. You may not be that happy-go-lucky person that you were before, because now you're in the midst of the crisis and you don't want to tell anybody your business. So you have a behavior change to accommodate it. There are verbal disputes. You might be fussing, arguing with people, your loved ones, your husband, your wife, whatever. There would be verbal disputes because you're in a crisis, but you haven't communicated that you're in a crisis. So we as people have to watch for the signs that can be escalated. There can be warning signs, physical warning signs that says that the person is being verbal, they're being physical, they must be going through some behavior change. And so it could be their gestures, it could be how they act, how they operate. So these are signs that a crisis could be escalated, and if you're not the person in the crisis, you may not understand these behavior changes. You may not really understand the verbal changes. You may not understand these physical warning signs that you see. So I'm telling you to pace yourself as the outsider looking in on how do you see that somebody's in a crisis? How do you see it? And you see it when their behavior change. You say, well, what's wrong? And it's okay. You see them looking like these people fussing at each other because there's a behavior change. And what we need is communication. You need to have a verbal de escalation technique. And with that verbal technique, it's for you to stay calm and use a soft voice. If you're on the outside looking in, then you want to make sure that you want to stay calm and acknowledge feelings and avoid arguing or threatening. Don't become part of the problem. Please don't become part of the problem. Become part of the solution. But you may say, I'm not at that point. I don't like the way they answered me. I don't like what they said, because you did not take into consideration that they're going through a crisis because they have not communicated that. So, in order for them to communicate that, you need to communicate first by saying, are you okay? In a calm, speaking, soft tone voice. And acknowledge if they say, no, I'm not okay because this and that happened, or they didn't really tell you what happened because they displaced their anger, but you know something happened, then just acknowledge their feelings. They're feeling some kind of way. So don't you get involved in arguing or threatening or being part of the problem. You have to communicate so that you can de-escalate the situation. And the only way you de-escalate it is that you don't participate. But let's say you had a bad day too. You both had a bad day. Everybody had a bad day. But I'm suggesting that you walk away, and you walk away until you can adjust yourself, until you could talk about what's happening. So get out of the arena so that you won't be arguing or fighting. Even if you started with the argument and fighting, it may be something missing. And that missing link could be that there is a crisis someplace, but it hasn't been communicated. And it's your job to not to participate in it, but your job is to help them through it. And the only way you'll help them through it is that you stay calm, and that you communicate, and that you communicate effectively. You have to be effective in your communication. Nobody's going to hear you if you're a rabble rouser or you hot-headed, and nobody acknowledge anybody else's feelings. Everybody's hot-headed in the situation, so there's no resolution. So I'm telling you, we want to de-escalate, and you can do that with your verbal conversation. So let's reduce the tension. And the way you reduce the tension is that you build a relationship that's calm, and you communicate clearly, as I said before. And then you be empathetic and listen. Have active listening skills. Stay calm and listen to the person and what they're going through. Also, you have to make sure you collaborate in the problem solving. Let them know you're part of the team. And so many times, if you listen correctly, then you'll help them understand that you hear their concerns, and you value their concerns, and that you want to explore resources and collaborate with them in solving the problem, because then they don't feel alone. That their anxiety will reduce if you help as a team member to reduce the tension in the room, the tension in the problem. And that's what your job is, to de-escalate. The only way you de-escalate is that you go down a notch. Don't be messy Bessie in this situation. You're here to reduce the tension, because you're not helping if you're not reducing the tension. And there's so much happening in our world today that we really need to, as Christians, to always operate in a area of godliness, and to let them know that you operate as a godly person all the time, and not just when you go to church or when you're other believers, but when crises appear. You have to be on the lookout for how you work your own salvation. Who are you representing? Are you representing Christ-like behavior? Are you representing collaborative problem solving, that you're part of the team to help reduce tension? You have to decide what part you play, and you want to play the part of helping the person get through it. It's very important, because we all have a goal that we want to reach. And in reaching that goal, crisis could be both a time of danger. It could be a time of opportunity. And then we reduce the tension, and not to control the person. You just want to help reduce the tension. And in the crisis, a person will either learn from the danger, and they'll take the opportunity to increase their coping skills. And so if they learn how to cope, then they can minimize their risks, meaning that I know how to cope from this danger, and I'm going to increase my coping skills because you're working with me on it. You're working with me on de-escalating and helping me to actually move forward. And when we move forward in a problem or a situation, then we can reach our goal. and I said we, because you've joined with them. You've joined with them for a peaceful resolution. You don't know what they could be going through. They could have just lost their job. They could have a situation where they don't have the money that they need. A lot of times, tension is elevated because people don't have the funds they need to live or to operate or to move the way they used to move. And you have to be Christian like to recognize that is there's some drama here, there's a crisis here, and they feel it's a crisis in their life. And so because they feel it's a crisis in their life, you have to participate with a plan of action. What you want to do, help them move forward. Even if it says, I understand that you have a crisis. I also understand that I want to help you through it. If you will communicate it. If they don't want to communicate it, at least you're not the enemy. You're not the enemy that participated in the drama, okay? So be the team player, okay? And then if you have a workplace trauma, just be a team player and respect other people and communicate with mutual respect, that you respect what they do and how they do it, and then to have a set boundaries, clear boundaries, that you're not there to control them, but you're there to support them. And don't personalize it. Please don't personalize it. Understanding that everybody is faced with trauma. Your trauma may not be here today, your crisis may not be here today, but it may show up at another level. And it may show up in a point that you are just as devastated in the trauma as anybody else, or in your crisis. You just have to you have a crisis, and when you have a crisis, you understand that you're going through. Now they have a crisis. You have to understand that they're going through, and that it's not personal. It's not personal to you, because the Bible tells us in Matthew 22:37, first and the greatest commandment is that we love God with all our heart, soul, and mind. And the second is that we love each other, that we love others, that we love ourselves. So I say, don't personalize it. Support them during their time of need. I wanted to just share that with you. We can de-escalate a crisis. We can be supportive in a crisis, but you have to decide what role will you play in the crisis. I'd like to thank you so very much. I'm Dr. Yolanda Young Simmons. I'm here to support you. I thank you for letting me be of service in your area of need or understanding. If you'd like to reach me, my email address is fnotraining@gmail.com, and my phone number is also on the screen. And I want each and every one of you to know that God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things, and you may be that one to do that extraordinary thing. Thank you for letting me be of service. Have a good week, a good day, a good month in Jesus. I thank you so much. Amen.